Digital Marketing Radio, episode 249. How to launch a new product and get to number one on Product Hunt.
Digital Marketing Radio with David Bain.
Hi, I'm David Bain and this is Digital Marketing Radio, the show for in-house agency and entrepreneurial marketers who want to stay on top of the latest tools, tactics and trends as shared by today's modern marketing masters. Well, how do you launch your new product in tech? Do you run a big virtual summit, partner with similar brands, or spend big bucks on paid ads? Maybe you should consider Product Hunt as part of your launch strategy. Overlooked by many, this could be the product launch linchpin that you're looking for. My guest today has started, grown and sold a digital agency, and his current startup went to number one for his launch day and number two for his launch week on Product Hunt. He's the founder of Postaga. Welcome to DMR, Andy Cabasso.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
Great to have you on board, Andy. Well, you can find Andy over at postaga.com, postaga.com. So, Andy, why Product Hunt?
When we were looking to launch our product, we were kind of figuring out what's the best way to go about and reach our target audience? And we spoke with a bunch of different people about it. Fellow startup founders, other marketers, and I've been subscribed to and following Product Hunt for a long time. And one piece of advice that we had gotten was that the audience for Product Hunt is very smart, very tech focused, and also there are a lot of digital marketing industry people, and that was exactly who we were looking to connect with for our product launch. So that it kind of was like a no-brainer for us that we wanted to reach this audience, and if we could do our launch right, and if we could get visibility on it and get to in the top 5 for the day, then we'd be seen in the newsletter that comes out the next day and reach another part of the audience that aren't just on Product Hunt every day, and would help us get in front of people and get new users for our just launched product.
So what types of products should be on Product Hunt? Are you just talking about tech products, or is it right for other types of products as well?
There's a variety of things that you see on Product Hunt, but typically tech products do better. I mean, when the Tesla Cybertruck was announced, it showed up on Product Hunt, and I think it was number one for the day, week, and possibly month. They're also new apps or updates to apps. So when I think we actually went up against a new added feature for Facebook that came out the same day. But there's it's a wide variety of stuff. A lot of the popular categories are related to productivity, personal tools and things like that, and software, as well as other things. I remember the number one thing for, I think it was the week that we did ours, was a virtual escape room game that looked really neat. But generally, a lot of this stuff does tend to have a tech focus. That's the audience for the website.
And how does it appear on there to begin with? Do the product owners submit their own products? Does it have to be featured or added from existing audience members?
So I think there might be a big misconception about this, but anyone can post their own product, or you can hunt other products. But in general, if someone is hunting your product, who is a Product Hunt user who wants to share your product, typically there is some coordination with the person who has created or built the product, because launching on Product Hunt is very much a strategy that people are using to launch their products. And so there are vibrant Facebook communities and the Product Hunt community itself, with people who are looking to launch their product and want to connect with a well-known hunter, someone who is very popular on the Product Hunt community and wants that clout of having them be the one to introduce their product to the world on Product Hunt. But we launched it ourselves. We didn't use a hunter from the community.
So you obviously did fairly successful by doing that. I was going to ask you, are you likely to be more successful by having someone who's quite popular on the community doing the hunting on your behalf?
So so before we did our product hunt launch, we spoke with a lot of people. I wanted we wanted to best reverse engineer product hunt to see what is the most successful, what increases our odds of success in terms of like what is our product listing page need, when do we need to launch, how do we need to send people like in our existing audience to our product hunt page to vote for us, and things like that. And so in speaking to some people, there were some people who said that we should work with a hunter who, one of the a top hunter who has people who follow them, and this person could give some clout to your launch. But the other people kind of suggested to us that, well, there are some very prolific hunters who hunt many products every day, and if there are people who are subscribed to them, like at a certain point it can just be noise. Like if there's someone who's like one of the top hunters who's hunting products for everybody, it might not necessarily be their endorsement of the product. And although people who subscribe to that hunter might see and get notification about this new launch of this product, there's also a chance that it just doesn't get noticed. But if you are doing the launch yourself, you have a good deal more control over the aspects of it. And we were, and so people gave us different recommendations, and we decided let's just do it ourselves.
Okay, because I was thinking about a negative of doing it yourself could be that it may be perceived as just being self-promotional, and you're not necessarily featuring a product because it's the best products out there. It's just because you've done it.
Yeah. So, and there, I think to some degree there is a perception that, and it was maybe more common in the earlier days of Product Hunt, that you want someone who is is well known in the community to hunt your product, that will give clout and basically vouch for your product. But over time, I think it's been clear that there are some top hunters who are very much collaborating with hopefully if anyone's launching on Product Hunt, they are not shocked and surprised that their product suddenly appears on Product Hunt. It's not like it's not, in my experience, and what I'm seeing is it's not so much of hunters scouring the web and finding great products and throwing them on Product Hunt. It's a lot of the products that get hunted are because people reach out to hunters specifically to ask them to hunt their product, or they're hunting their own product because they're doing what we're doing, which was trying to launch their product to the world and focusing on like this specific launch day and preparing for it and having a strategy that on this day you're going to do this launch and try and get in front of as many people as possible and work the product on launch, as opposed to, oh, hey, look at this product. I just found this product. Everyone check it out now. I don't think that really happens so much.
Should it be a new product, or can it be a product that's already existed for 3 years, for example?
Yeah. So I have friends that they just didn't do a proper product hunt launch when they first created their product, but they recognize that product hunt can get you a new boost in users and customers. And so they might do a product hunt launch to announce their product to the product hunt community, even if it's been out for a while or years or things like that. Sometimes you might have your product on, that you launched on Product Hunt a while ago, but you've got some new features. So you want to make the new features your Product Hunt launch 2.0.
I mean, I've seen, having a quick look on Product Hunt today, I've seen a few different types of products and services on there. I've even seen a few podcasts on there. It's not something I've even considered beforehand, but should I launch digital marketing radio on Product Hunt?
Possibly. Now I'm curious what is up there today. But from like what I would recommend, so there are like most of the things that seem to rank well are apps and free things, guides, people curating other helpful resources for people, stuff like that. But yeah, it's a variety of stuff. But if you have a good hook of why the audience should care about your product, then I'd say go for it.
So you've obviously done a lot of research, done a lot of work to actually figure out what work you had to do, what planning you had to do in order to get to number one or as high as possible in Product Hunt. So what are a few steps that you went through that you would recommend someone else to go through to try and replicate your success?
Sure. So first, I would block out a good amount of time, even just before the Product Hunt launch, weeks or a month before. We had been preparing for our launch for, I think we spent, my co-founder and I really spent like a full 2 weeks before the launch, getting all our ducks in a row and all our assets together and things like that. But we were planning on doing a product on launch for months before that. But I definitely would say like there were 2 weeks of work that we really put into making sure the launch would be a success, because we recognized that if we did it right, if we could be in the top 5 for the day, that would get us in front of a lot of people. So we wanted to make sure like that we could do everything in our power to make that happen. So planning ahead is important, but like you may want to know like specifically what should you do? So a few examples of things, like if you look at the listings in Product Hunt, on the cover page, on the main page, you'll see there's like a listing with each company name, a tagline, and like an icon, image, or GIF. If you can, make a GIF that is more eye-catching. We actually had several. We kind of ended up scrambling last minute because we had a GIF that was like related to our product. It was text that like flashed like, build more backlinks, get more traffic. And the moderators took that down at about like 11 a.m. our time and changed it to just a static image. And we were noticing that our like upvotes and position was going down. We're like, oh no, what just happened? And so then we saw it and we quickly created another GIF that was less flashy and submitted it and got approval. And then that definitely seemed to have an impact. So like, having a good icon GIF that stands out is helpful. Having a tagline, like I come from a marketing background, making sure you have a tagline that inspire, like kind of is like a good email subject line that like tells a bit about what's inside, but also inspires curiosity and makes people want to see what's in here, what's more about it, makes them want to check it out. That can definitely help there. In terms of like on your actual Product Hunt page, you can have a video, you can have images, and then there's your thanks for checking us out message that the maker usually posts. And so for the video, we created like a 1-minute video that was a bit of like a teaser that wasn't just like a product demo, but like it was styled. It had music, it had text, it was a quick taste of what our product does and what it could do for the visitor to make them want to really check it out. And then beyond that, the images, for example, we didn't just throw up screenshots, because a screenshot without context doesn't really help and doesn't make people understand what it is that your product does. So instead of just doing still screenshots of our product, we had like annotated images. So there'd be like a partial screenshot, but with text around like the border on the sides to like really explain what you're seeing here. Like you could use PowerPoint, or you could use like Google Slides, for example, to just take a screenshot and then put text around it to explain what the image is. Something as basic as that. But that definitely helped us as well. And in terms of like where we came up with all of this, we spent a lot of time looking at other products in our space and other products that had been number one for the day, week, and month to see what commonalities were there, what things did they do differently, and if we could like if we made a list, what things did we see that they had that made them stand out, and that became part of our launch strategy.
So I think you've offered a lot of great advice there with regards to the positioning of a product on Product Hunt. What about initial traffic? I would imagine that driving a lot of people to be aware of your product as soon as it's available is quite key. Do you get, is it possible to control traffic from the platform? Can you promote your launch on the platform? Do you mentioned Facebook groups there as well? Do you actually try and drive traffic from Product Hunt fans on Facebook groups? Do you drive traffic from any other paid campaigns, any other places?
Everything. Some people do paid search campaigns and things like that. We did not. So I can't speak to that, unfortunately. But but basically at 12 a.m. Pacific time is when the Product Hunt board refreshes for the day, and anyone can post their app for or product or whatever for the day's launches, and they will show up in the Product Hunt board for that day. And like the first few hours are a little bit anarchy, in that like everyone's trying to jockey for position, and in the earliest hours you want to get as many upvotes as possible, because after the first few hours, Product Hunt then ranks products on their homepage by the most popular. And if you go to the product,
I'm sorry, how does it define popular? Is that the number of upvotes?
Upvotes, yes. So for example, yeah, like the first thing at the top will typically be the thing that has the most. Well, it will be the thing that has the most upvotes. And so, as soon as you launch, you want to be sending as many people in your audience to upvote you as possible. Now, your audiences may be all over the world and not awake at 12 a.m. Pacific time, especially if you're in the East Coast, like of the United States, like we were. But I was up at 3 a.m. when we were launching. Like, and then I didn't need to be like it. You can set your launch day and time.
But 12 a.m. Pacific time is actually probably best.
Yeah, that's when the board wipes clean and starts fresh. And in the first few hours, Product Hunt does not set the scoreboard really for what's the most popular. What are the most popular apps of the day? But
okay, so it's probably best if you're based in the UK, because that's 8 a.m. in the UK, but then you can have a clear run into it. Actually, yeah.
And so, yeah, but after a few hours, then, well, part of the challenge becomes like the top apps will all appear in order from most votes to least votes, and the ones that it's kind of like if you think about like a search engine, like the things at the top tend to get the most clicks and will propel themselves. And so the items like that are like in the top 5 of the day, like when the rankings come out and over the course of the day, they will tend to get more views and eyeballs because they're already prominent on the homepage, and people are going to be less likely to scroll down and down to click the show more products button to see what else is there. So as soon as those rankings come out early in the day, you want to be sure that you have some visibility there. So promoting to your audiences as early as possible is definitely key there.
Great. Okay. So a couple of very quick questions, actually, in relation to Product Hunt. Firstly, can it bring long-term value to your business as well, or is it just primarily the launch week that you get the most value from it? And then secondly, how do you integrate this with other forms of marketing?
So we were my co-founder and I, the first 72 hours, I'd say, from when we did our Product Hunt launch, were extremely busy. We got a ton of signups. Over the course of that week, we got over 1,000 users for our product, which was crazy. And we were like praying that nothing in our systems would collapse and be able to handle all of that, right? Because we had never stressed the system that much. But so we got a lot of like support inquiries in the first few days, and a lot of really eager people to check it out. And so we had to make sure that we had the time to get to all of that, because we knew that in a week that huge surge in traffic would decrease, and it did. But even so, that after that peak and after it slowed down, we still noticed that from like our baseline of website traffic was still much higher than it was before our product hunt launch. And then aside from that, there were like other benefits that we didn't expect that would come out of it. Like, for example, a bunch of investors reached out to us wanting to invest in our product. People reached out about partnerships, and we got a lot of really great early user feedback on recommendations on the direction of the product. And getting so many people at once to give us that feedback, it would have taken us, if we didn't do it, the product hunt launch, it would have taken a lot more time to really figure that out.
Superb. Okay, well, this is another discussion that can go on for hours, I'm sure. But so let's segue to part 2 of our discussion. So it's now time for Andy's thoughts on the state of digital marketing today. So starting off with
secret software.
So Andy, share a lesser known MarTech tool that's bringing you a lot of value at the moment and why that tool is important for you.
Do I go self-promotional here?
Why not go both?
All right. So, I mean, first, I would recommend a tool that I use every day, which is Postaga, which is a tool that helps with cold outreach for link building and digital PR. For example, it helps me connect with bloggers who might be able to do write-ups and reviews about my product. It also helps me find and connect with podcast hosts to pitch them to have me on as a guest, which has been working pretty well for me. And aside from that, we have tools that help with link building to help your content rank better. But aside from that, there are a few tools that I'm also using every day. One is SavvyCal, which is a Calendly competitor. But one thing that I like about it in particular is that it lets users overlay their own schedules on top of the calendar selection options to find available time slots. So instead of putting that burden on the user to see, all right, here's their schedule, let's see which times work for my calendar. Basically, you can connect your calendar and see where there's overlap of available time. And it's been great so far. I've really liked that product a lot. And another one is Chatlio, which is a live chat software that connects into Slack. And so you might be wondering, well, there are tons of live chat apps. You're just telling me things like, what's the point of this? But the reason I like Chatlio is that it integrates very directly into Slack. So instead of me needing another app to have on every day, all day, whenever I'm on our live chat app, I just get notifications in Slack, and I can respond to our website and app questions from my Slack account, either on my desktop or on my phone if I want to as well. And that's been real handy. I've really wanted this feature, and we've looked at a few different apps, but so far Chatlio has been the best for it.
Superb. Well, they're nice, easy websites to discover. It's just the brand name, savvycal.com and chatlio.com as well, and obviously postaga.com as well. Mm. How did you come up with the name Postaga?
I don't know if I want to divulge that on a podcast. So this is a little mystery, I guess. So I'm going to tell you, though, and for you and all the audience. So it
okay,
is...
just me.
Okay, just you. Everyone else hit pause or fast forward 15 seconds. So it's a video game reference, actually, to the Final Fantasy series. And basically we combined one of, getting real nerdy here, one of the magic spells, combining it with post for like related to like Postaga doing promotion for a blog post. So doing magic for blog post promotion is the theme basically.
And was the domain name postaga.com available, or did you have to buy that from
It
someone?
was. Funny enough, no one else had purchased the domain name Postaga. I've joked elsewhere that like they're like, why Postaga? And I'm like, it's the only domain name that wasn't taken.
That's a good way to do it as well. And if you can get the .com and ideally the trademark as well, then that's a great way to do it, certainly. Okay, well, let's move on to
Next on the list.
So what's one marketing activity or tool that you haven't tried yet, but you want to test soon?
So, well, I mean, this is pretty basic, and I just over the years I've not had a whole lot of success with it, which would be like paid social ads. I've tried paid social in other businesses in the past and had differing levels of success, but definitely it's something that I'm considering for my business. But I know that in more recent years, as things get more popular and competitive, things have diminishing returns, and it's very much on my to-do list. But I want to optimize every other part of our flows first to make sure that we get the highest possible return on investment from these campaigns.
Yeah, I think the frustrating thing about social ads is it seems to be very difficult to predict the success that you're going to have from different ads, because I've posted ads for myself and for clients before, and from a little ad, not spending too much money, I've had thousands of click-throughs to a website, and then a very similar ad that was posted the next week hardly had any. And it's very difficult to determine exactly what the difference was.
Sure. And then every channel is different, right? Like if you're doing Google display ads versus Facebook ads versus LinkedIn ads, if anyone out there in your audience has found like the secret for LinkedIn ads in particular, I'm really curious, because I have spoken with a lot of marketers, and I have not spoken with anyone who says, I figured it out. I figured out how to make LinkedIn ads work, because they've typically been very pricey. Although like you can target very well in terms of your audience, but in terms of getting those clicks and that ROI there, I know that it's a challenge.
Well, okay. There is Digital Marketing Radio episode 225 with AJ Wilcox. AJ Wilcox is certainly a LinkedIn ads expert.
Making notes.
But it can be extremely challenging, certainly as well. So it's difficult. I just had Brad Smith from Wordable talk a little bit about LinkedIn advertising and viral B2B content as well. But as you say, every single platform is different, and you have to use it differently. Then you have to think about things like tracking visitors and what you can do nowadays versus what you used to be able to do, and whether you want to use one network platform for retargeting, one for discovery, one for a multi-step social approach. So you can't do everything at once. So I think you really do have to master them one by one, don't you?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's move on to
the this or that round.
So this is the quick response round, 10 quick questions. Just 2 rules here. Try not to think about the answer too much.
Okay.
And you're only allowed to say the word both on one occasion, so use it wisely. Are you ready?
Oh, I can only say both on one occasion.
You can indeed, yes.
Okay.
Here we go. TikTok or Twitter?
Twitter.
Facebook or LinkedIn?
I want to say both to this one. Facebook.
YouTube or podcast?
Podcast.
Traffic or leads?
Both.
Paid search or SEO?
SEO.
Ads or influencers?
Ads.
Google ads or Facebook ads?
Google ads.
Email marketing or chat marketing?
Email marketing.
MarTech stack or all-in-one platform?
MarTech stack.
One-to-one or scale?
One-to-one.
No problem at all. The one that probably I didn't predict was you saying Facebook rather than LinkedIn, because we just had a conversation about LinkedIn, and you obviously said about not being able to master maybe social ads yet. Well, why did you choose Facebook?
Because I'm more comfortable with it.
Okay.
all of these things that you threw at me are all things I am very interested in. Some things I have more experience with than others, and that's like I definitely probably spoke to my comfort more than anything else. Like I love being on podcasts, but I'm also trying to make YouTube work as a channel for us. One-to-one versus scale. As an early stage company, we're especially focusing on one-to-one, but scale is important for the long term, obviously. And all-in-one versus marketing stack. That was also a tough one because I have a tool that is an all-in-one, but and I think is amazing and everyone should have and use in their marketing arsenal. But I also have a marketing stack in other areas. So, like for example, I know there are lots of marketing automation all-in-ones, and I personally have not had the most luck with those. And so I've cobbled together solutions where I have not found the best all-in-one solution. I would love an all-in-one solution in like marketing automation that makes me as happy as my software makes me happy for an all-in-one for outreach.
It's a tricky one. I think different marketers are drawn to different ways of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
My natural instinct is to be concerned if I'm just using the one platform, whether I'm actually using the best platform for everything. And I like to tie things together. Yeah, exactly.
I love a situation where I can tie things together with integrations, in particular if there isn't something native or Zapier when possible. But best case scenario, I would love an all-in-one that could do everything that I've been looking for. But there are a lot of all-in-ones that miss that one thing that I need,
Yeah, absolutely. What is FOMO marketing? That was episode 234 of DMR with Making Sang. Anyway, let's move on to
the $10,000 question.
If I was to give you $10,000, or I should say, if I were to give you $10,000 and make it not definitive, and you had to spend it over the next few days on a single thing to grow your business, what would you spend it on, and how would you measure success?
I would focus on content. That would be the thing that I would see probably the best use out of. I would pay content writers and research people to if I was starting a day and had 10,000 to spend on marketing and I had all of the tools and software and things that I needed, I would definitely focus on content in terms of I would do keyword research to see what are topics related to my industry that are not so competitive that I could be able to rank for it if I created some really good content. And then either myself or I'd bring on content writers who are skilled in this to create really good content that is going to be able to rank well in search, and then promote that content.
So you just focus on written form? You wouldn't use audio or video? And where would you publish that? On your own website?
Mm-hmm. So the written content I would publish on my site. This is because this is an area that I am very familiar with, and I know that, like, all right, if you gave me 10 grand to spend, I'm very comfortable that if I invested it in content, that it would pay dividends. I would very much love to master audio and video channels, especially like something like YouTube as a channel, and something that I've been working on and trying to build up our YouTube channel as well. But if you were to give me $10,000, I don't know that would have today the biggest return on investment as opposed to content.
Great answer. Okay, well, to finish off, let's shift the focus to someone else who deserves it. So that is a
magical marketer.
So who's an up-and-coming marketer that you'd like to give a shout out to? What can we learn from them, and where can we find them?
Sure. So I have two people in mind. The first is Diana Mayfield. Her name is spelled Dayana Mayfield. And she is really good. She's really good at digital PR and SaaS copywriting for B2B SaaS businesses. I strongly recommend checking her out. Her website is her name, dianamayfield.com. She's really good with SaaS copywriting, but also very, very skilled with digital PR and cold outreach. She has a course also where she'll teach your team to do outreach, and she has really really an amazing approach and pitch. And one of the challenges when you're doing outreach in particular is having the right copy and having the right pitch, because so many people get cold outreach all the time. Like, I'm sure you've seen like those generic emails, spam emails that are like, hey, website, I loved your content and would love it if you would link to my content. No one's going to get excited about that. And so having a really good, unique pitch is important. And Diana has a great pitch, and also has a community and shares her knowledge. That's really great. The next person that I would recommend checking out is her name is Belle Di Lorenzo, and she's working with a variety of companies, including one called Startup Sauce, and she is probably the most skilled person I've encountered when it comes to doing cold outreach for digital PR, for link building. We trade stories a lot on the outreach campaigns that we run, and she puts me to shame. I'm always excited to learn from her, and would recommend checking her out as well.
Superb stuff. Thank you very much, Andy. So this was episode 249 of Digital Marketing Radio, where Andy Cabasso from Postaga shared some great tips on product hunt to begin with, talking about talking with experienced product hunters to begin with before you do your launch, to make sure that everything is spot on and you get your strategy right for your launch. Tips like sharing a GIF and sharing a video as part of your product page as well, and the fact that the products page actually refresh at 12 a.m. Pacific time every day. So that's the time that you should consider your launches. We talked about secret software. Your secret software, Andy, was Postaga and SavvyCal, and also Chat Leo. We're going to have links to all of those in the show notes at digitalmarketingradio.com. Your next on the list was paid social ads, giving that a little bit of a go, but of course we can't give everything a go at the same time, so it's probably best deferring on that in the meantime. And then lastly, you had two magical marketers to share with us, Diana Mayfield and Belle Di Lorenzo. Again, I'll make sure that the links to them are included in the show notes at digitalmarketingradio.com. Andy, what's the best social platform for someone to follow you and say hi?
I'm pretty easy to find. You can find me everywhere. I don't think there are any other Andy or Andrew Cabassos out there. So you search for my name, you'll find me. I'm on Twitter at Andy Cabasso, LinkedIn on Andrew Cabasso. I guess it sounds more professional. Facebook also Andy Cabasso, and I have a Facebook group specifically dedicated to outreach and digital marketing and SEO. That's called Grow Together SEO.
Superb stuff. I've been your host, David Bain. You can also find me producing podcasts and video shows for B2B brands over at castingcred.com. Until we meet again, stay hungry, stay foolish, and stay subscribed. Aloha.
DigitalMarketingRadio.com. DigitalMarketingRadio.com. Digital Marketing Radio, Digital Marketing Radio, DigitalMarketingRadio.com.